Hello. Right, this week I need something a bit more relaxed and chilled. So I thought we would talk about some of the more unhinged things that I do behind the scenes as a handmade business owner. And I would love to hear what yours are, because we all have them. And by them, I mean confessions. Confessions of a handmade business. Oh, that could be a good title. It'll be something like that. Okay, sorry, I had a title for this video, but I think I've just scrapped it and come up with a new one in real time. Where were we? I'm Kim. Hello. Is that how I start my videos? This is getting off to such a good start. Hello, I'm Kim if you're new here, and if you're not new here, welcome back. This is the Coffee and Craft chat. Sometimes I forget that it used to be a podcast, and I say podcast. It's not that, it's a chat. I have coffee. I got a big cup today. I nicked my daughter's because it's coming up to Halloween, so I got the bucket. There's no craft this week because I am tired. I've been working on, in my viewfinder here to the side of the camera, this area is just darkness. So I'm going to assume that you can see some jeans on the wall in the back there. That's what I've been working on. I've been doing a tutorial on how to use these patches that I have in my mending kits, which I've revamped recently. If you're on my mailing list, you'll have seen that. I won't dwell on it. But it's been a whole thing, and I'm tired. But I've got my notes. I've got my glasses so I can read my notes. Also, I've just realised I bought this years ago, and it's got moon and stars on it, and it's very on trend, on theme with my collection, which I'm working on, which by the time this goes up, I'll have announced it on social media, but I'm calling it Under the Night Sky. Da, 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 da. So yes, all I'm saying is that this is very on brand at the moment. It wasn't meant to be. Anyway, before I start, I do just want to say all of this, get off. It's very tongue-in-cheek. This is just light-hearted, so I was going to say don't come at me in the comments, but yeah, don't come at me in the comments because I am a little bit nervous about some of the things that I'm about to confess to. Okay, the first one is about pricing. I've priced my items using vibes alone in the past. There's been no strategy, no real thought, just vibes. But it doesn't stop there. I've also priced things lower than I know that they're worth because I wanted them to find a good home. And so yes, I have underpriced myself sometimes. Get off me! And I'm not sorry. I don't do it now. I haven't done it now, but I might do it again. It's my business. I can do what I want. Okay, shush. Let's see if I can read some of these things without my glasses because it's just annoying taking them on and off, especially when it comes to editing. Oh my. I iron my pieces more than I iron my clothes. True. I don't iron my clothes. I just don't. To be fair, a lot of clothes these days don't need ironing because they're all made from synthetic materials, so I'm quite lucky. Things like this jumper, which for members, by the way, this is the jumper that I dyed that didn't take the dye. As you can see, it literally hasn't changed colour. But yeah, that won't make any sense to most of you. But if you're a member of this channel, But the things that I make for the shop, obviously I'm ironing them, I'm pressing them, the seams. Yeah, that's pretty much the only time I ever get the iron and the ironing board out. Moving on. Okay, this is where we're getting into the kind of like, do I really want to say this? Yes. I think sometimes if it's something that we don't want to say, it might be a good thing to say, obviously within reason. But I think there'll be other sellers that can relate to this. If I make a sale, there's a little voice in my head that will say, that's a pity sale. They're buying that from you because they feel sorry for you. And linked to that, this next one it happens less now. But there was a time when almost everyone would leave feedback on Etsy. So if I didn't receive feedback, my initial reaction was they hated it. They hated it and they don't want to tell me that they hated it, but the silence means they hated it. But then likewise, if they did leave positive feedback, I'd think that they were lying. Basically, I think those last two things just show that sometimes we are our own worst enemies and we just need to tell our brains to shut up sometimes. But as I say, this doesn't happen to me as much now because I know through my own behaviour I'm terrible for leaving feedback on things. I haven't bought anything on Etsy for some time and I do try to make an effort there because I know it matters. But for the most part, I won't leave feedback on something I buy. Like I won't contact them again unless there's an issue. Otherwise, silence is good. So I am starting to train myself out of that belief, but that was big at one point, and it does still crop up occasionally. Okay, what's next? I'm starting to regret this video. Ugh. Oh no. Why did I put this one down? Okay, sometimes I swear at my sewing machines. That's not a big confession. I think most of us who use machinery of any kind to make our stuff, we know that we will have, any of us who have to use printers of any kind will not only swear at them, we're completely justified. This isn't a confession, this is just a fact. But I'm talking about my sewing machines. For this point, I'm talking about my overlocker, and it's broken. I mean, it works. It has a flap on the front, which when I use it, I have to keep it taped closed because I really lost my temper with it one day and I punched it and it broke. It was being extremely annoying though. Listen, I'm not proud of it, but this was back when I was sewing up kimono jackets for festivals, and they were in huge demand at the time and I was just on a hamster wheel. So not only was I constantly making things over and over again, but I had a certain amount that I had to make in order to keep up with demand. And my overlocker was having a moment. So did I. So moving on again. I get emotionally attached to fabric. So this is a long curtain panel, which I have had for years and years and years. And at the moment it lives right next to this chair, and I put it over my thread storage as a way to soften the sound when I'm filming basically. But look at that. That is just beautiful, and it feels sacrilegious to even think about cutting it. So I'm never cutting it. Initially it was fabric bought so that I could sew up some things for the shop. Then I very quickly decided it was mine now. I wasn't selling this or giving this away to anyone. And then I was going to make myself something. And then I was like, no, it's going to be curtains forever. But yeah, fabrics, I get emotionally attached to them. And I think, I want to say that's normal. Please say that's normal. I mean, if you knit, you buy special balls of yarn that you want to save for a good project, and it just sort of never gets used, right? Right? Please tell me I'm not alone. Oh yeah, I spend a lot of time not making and I hate it, but that's the reality of running this business. Yeah, I mean, is that so much of a confession as a fact? I think a lot of makers, creators and artists can relate to that. Sometimes I secretly hope a piece doesn't sell just so that I can keep it. I have been really good. Like, do you remember the Daisy collection of jumpers? I didn't steal any of those. I made myself another one. And the mushroom collection, I got myself a top that I could also put the toadstools on, so I have my own. I didn't steal from that collection. I just realised I said the word steal. It is stealing from myself, isn't it? But again, I think that's something that we can all relate to, surely. Sometimes you make things and you're just so proud of them, you're like, it's a good sign. It's a good sign when you make something so good that you don't want to get rid of it, you want to keep it. And there are times when I'll put things in the shop and I like having them there. I like seeing them when I've got them on my wall, which hopefully this will be the last video that I make where my items aren't on the wall because the DIY is nearly done. I won't bore you with that. I'll bore members with that. They've been hearing about my DIY shenanigans. The next one, I've said this before. In fact, I think I've even made an entire video about it, how I don't want a 6-figure business, which is just as well because I'm nowhere near it. But I would take that a step further and say I don't want a big business. And by big, I mean if I have to get my business to a point where there's more things to do than I can do myself, then I don't want that. The reason I set up this business for well, I've told you about the reasons. I needed the flexibility of time and what have you. But also I liked the idea of doing all of the things. It's why I hold on to work, probably more than I should, but it's why I don't outsource my editing. I think the only thing I've ever outsourced is my accounting. And I have mentioned this in a previous video. I don't know where, so I'll say it again. And if I'm repeating myself, I apologise. The idea of my business getting too big actually scares me a little bit. I don't know what's going on in there. That's probably a conversation for a therapist, not YouTube. But I don't like the idea of my business getting too big. And sometimes I have to sit down and try and think about, well, what does too big look like? The whole idea of my business getting too big, I think stems from the fact that I love the idea of having a business with a community. I've always talked about that. I'm not just using that word for the sake of using it. And I do think that once a thing or a business gets too big, it can lose that community feeling, no matter how hard you try to keep hold of it. And I think I'm afraid of that. I want to make enough, essentially. I want to be able to pay my bills, contribute in a meaningful way so that, you know, I can support my family. And I can have that pride in saying I'm helping to support my family. Which I think brings me nicely to the last and the 10th confession. And that is, I don't think this is a confession. I think this is common sense, but I wanted to put this in because I think it might make some people feel a bit better. I don't make daily sales. I don't even make weekly sales a lot of the time. My sales tend to come in like little flurries. Either, I was going to say at the beginning or the end of the month, but there's actually no pattern to it, but they do come in flurries, especially on Etsy, I've noticed. And it does seem to be monthly. I just can't pinpoint any repetitive patterns as to when they come in. And obviously the way that I run my business, specifically the website as well, was it last week I did the video on how I launch? I'll repeat it anyway, just in case you didn't watch that. But it was essentially that the way I run my business is I do launches every 3 months or so. So there's a huge amount of sales and then they sort of trickle in and then there's another huge amount. So it's sort of like a wave, I suppose. So my point is, it's okay if you don't make daily sales or weekly ones, because I sometimes see people saying, oh, I used to get so many daily sales, which is great because that will be how they run their business. But there's no one size fits all. And I know that we all know that, but I think we forget it very easily. And basically that's good to know because it means that I don't stress if I don't make sales in a day or a week, because I know they're coming in and they could come in at any time. As long as I can pay my bills and keep doing what I love, I'm happy. In fact, I actually go through my sales for the month over on my membership channel. So if that and waffly vlogs is your cup of tea, head on over there and I will see you there. Otherwise, hopefully I'll see you again next week. And in the meantime, please let me know that I wasn't alone in this. Otherwise, I hope I gave you a chuckle. There you go. Ta-ra.